I'm 31. She's 35. I feel incredibly stupid looking back. It feels all so set up. She has no job and plans on living off the system, her parents, and occasionally me for financial support. When pressed, she just says the equivalent of God will provide. She doesn't really want me in the child's life as a parent either. She just wants my occasional financial support. This is the worst feeling ever. Update March 29th. Everyone, I understand I messed up. I'm prepared to step up and give this child the best life possible. I want to be a good father, and I'll work with the mother to do so. Following everyone's advice, I will do a paternity test and get a lawyer, of course. Update April 1st. We spoke on the phone. She's decided to delete my number because she can't deal with my anxiety. She's set on carrying out the pregnancy and insists she doesn't want support. She doesn't want me near her and told me to live my life. I brought up child support and how I would need a paternity test to go along with it, and she said absolutely not going to happen. Update April 3rd. She had her period. I have an angel looking over me. Story 1. She just wants child support. You are basically a sperm donor with benefits. Make sure to get the DNA test. Never be baited into arguments or situations where you don't have a witness or recording. Please be mindful that this is your life, your situation. No one knows it better than you. You will have to make the decisions you are comfortable with. Please do all the research you can as well. If you have a support network, family, and friends, keep them in the loop. Story 2. It's crazy to encounter a random situation, but you already know that. Don't do anything until you complete a DNA test. Also, I would talk to a civil lawyer about what to do. Story 3. If the baby is yours through a DNA test, and you are in the United States, neither of you has any choice. First and foremost, she has no say in whether you are in the child's life. You are the father and have just as much right to the child to be a parent and to make choices for the child as she does. Mothers have no additional legal rights compared to fathers. You have parental rights. You should go ahead and lay it out for her now. You will split time 50-50. You will have full joint legal custody, and she has no say in the matter. Given what you have shared here, you could even very easily make a petition for primary custody of the child, and I recommend that you do. How child support works varies highly from state to state, but if she has no job and is living off the system, then you are going to end up paying her child support. For one child, it is common, but again, it depends massively on the state, that you will pay about 20% of your income in child support. You also will be held legally responsible for providing the child with health insurance and 50% of all out-of-pocket medical costs. The state will not allow the child to be on benefits, such as Medicaid or food stamps, and not have the other parent not paying child support. The mother really doesn't get a say in it. If she is claiming benefits from the state is going to pursue you for child support so they can take the child off state benefits. Why should the taxpayers be paying for your child when you are not? I highly recommend that you spend $300 and have a consultation with a family attorney in your state. You absolutely need a family attorney. Here is what you can expect. Before the baby is born, you and your attorney are going to get a DNA test ordered by and the result registered with the court to establish paternity. If it is yours, this test will legally establish your paternity of the child. Your attorney will draft up a parenting plan that establishes your legal custody and visitation order, which will be signed by the judge. This will also be used to set any child support which is coming either way. You can't avoid it. Congratulations, you are a dad. If it is not yours, then this test will establish that you are not a parent and thus are not responsible for any cost, liability, or child support going forward. This will prevent the mother from coming to you for money, someone coming to you for damages caused by the child, or a hospital attempting to collect medical bills from you, and they absolutely will. Even if you have nothing to do with the child, nothing to do with the mother, and have not heard from them in years, if that child breaks his arm and runs up a $20,000 hospital bill, they will find you, take you to court, and start garnishing your paycheck to get the bill paid. So get the groundwork for the test done now. Again, and I can't stress this enough, you need a family attorney. I know all of this is expensive, but it is far cheaper to do this now than attempting to figure all this out after the fact and defend yourself from disputes. Story 4. Like others said, DNA test. If it is yours and she does not want you in the child's life, then get ready to pay child support for the next 18 years. However, if you do want to be in the child's life, then that is your right and you can talk to a lawyer about split custody. Story 5. Fake your death. Get a male cadaver of similar build, put it in the driver's seat of your car, drench the inside of the car with gasoline, and roll it off a cliff. Then go to New Mexico and pay the Sonora cartel to smuggle you to Mexico. From then on, you go by Mike Honcho and nothing else. You will operate an elote stand. That is your life. Story 6. You do understand that by occasional financial support, she means court-mandated child support. So, get a lawyer quickly. Basically, you were not careful, and now you have to pay for it for the next 18 years unless you can prove the child isn't yours or persuade her to terminate the pregnancy. Between you and the state, she'll be funded for raising this child otherwise. Story 7. Congratulations, original poster. This is how I got here. My mother told my father that she was going to look after me on her own with government money. Him staying away may or may not have been the best or worst thing for me. I will never know. One thing I know for sure is how deeply it impacted me. Next time, be smarter. This time, be the best dad you can be. Story 8. My dad went through this in the late 1970s. He was approximately your age. He is in his 80s now, and that one-night stand ultimately gave him a miserable life. If you can pay her off to abort with cash in hand, do it. Be mindful that if she keeps it, you'll likely love the kid, and she will at some point tell them you wanted them aborted. It's a minefield. Story 9. It is insane to engage in intimate activities with a random person or someone you barely know without protection. You are acting irresponsibly for that. You have majorly messed up, and now you will pay for your mistakes. Story 10. Congrats on being a dad. You will pay child support, but I think the sooner you come to terms with this, the better you will be. Second, she doesn't get to decide how much you want to be in the child's life. That is your decision to make. I'm sure at some point you may even be able to file for custody. Story 11. First of all, let me offer some criticism, and then I'll provide advice. That was a poor decision. Never, ever leave the responsibility of contraception solely to a woman. You made a mistake. First, reach out to a lawyer in your area to discuss your options. Next, you should establish paternity as soon as possible and ensure the lawyer informs her and local hospitals that placing your name on a birth certificate without verification will have consequences. If you are the father, have the lawyer arrange a payment schedule for child support and get her to agree to it. That will help prevent future financial disputes. Make sure it includes a flexible clause in case you want to contribute more occasionally. As a minimum contribution, you'll be paying this for the next 18 years. If you decide to get more involved and consider co-parenting, talk to your lawyer first. They will ensure that you don't leave yourself vulnerable. Who knows? She may decide to walk away from the child, leaving everything to you. Irresponsible people do things like that. If that happens, make sure she is legally and permanently excluded from any involvement. Story 12. If I were you, I would start saving for college and/or a wedding for your future child. Good luck. Also, you might not want to impregnate women that you barely know. Story 13. Well, if you were going to have a kid and it is yours, the first thing I would do is insist on being in the kid's life. It takes some next-level selfishness to both insist on financial help and insist that you are not involved in your own kid's life. Be a single dad if you have to, because she seems like a real piece of work. But I will say that, while having a kid might seem daunting, resource-intensive, and downright scary, you will spend every day in regret later on if you do not do everything you can for the child and will want to distract yourself with whatever addiction can take you away from facing that feeling. So regardless of how it looks on paper, fight for the kid if you are going to have one. And for dads, that bond is much more built over time than it is just a love at first sight kind of thing. You are not growing the thing in your body, so you will likely feel removed from the situation, and even once the kid is born, it may take you time to really get the wheels spinning on your bond to him or her. But have faith in the situation, that it will be worth it in the long run, even if you do not feel it at any given moment. The long-run cost of not doing what you can for a kid is way worse than whatever logistical, financial, or familial predicaments you might find yourself in temporarily otherwise. Story 14. Laugh out loud. It feels set up. Why didn't you wear a condom? If all those attributes are so bad, you shouldn't have slept with her in the first place or practiced better personal risk management. Story 15. First, a paternity test. If it is yours, fight for your kid. Brother, I know this may not be how you plan things, but your child deserves better than what she is going to provide. Story 16. She does not want you in the child's life, but she wants your money. Make it very clear to her that if you are named as the father, you will sue her for custody. I feel so sad for the child being born into this situation. Story 17. She has no job, plans on living off the system, her parents, and occasionally me for financial support. When pressed, she just says the equivalent of God will provide. Good gracious. Why did you sleep with this person? Story 18. Hey, I know you've got thousands of comments, but I am living with the exact same situation. My son is now 7 years old. The primary thing I want you to internalize is that everybody is going to be in your ears. You'll have people telling you to marry her, to date her, to abandon the child, or to move to her hometown. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody will act like what they are suggesting is the only possible reasonable path a person could follow. Do your best to quiet their voices. None of them can relate to the emotions you're feeling, and none of them know how they'd act if they were the ones in this scenario. There is no parenting rule book. There is especially no "I got a stranger pregnant" rule book. The woman also said very similar things like, "Things work out," and "I don't want full child support at first. I now pay almost $300 per week. I also have my son with me for all school breaks. You will need an attorney. It will be expensive. My son's mother did everything she could to gatekeep access to my son. The courts are the only thing that can control that. This is hard. This will be hard forever. But it is the start of a new journey, and you'll love your child. Private message me. Let's talk. I'm one of the only people who can actually share a real perspective on this." Story 19. Well, stop having unprotected sex with women you don't know well, for starters. But we have all done it. Red, I have done it. You really have no say now over whether you are about to become a dad. Come to terms with that. However, if she is as unstable as she sounds, she does not really have a say over not having you in the child's life. I hear being a dad is an amazingly rewarding experience. Embrace it. Story 20. First consideration, birth control. Second consideration, sexually transmitted diseases. The option for a vasectomy is one a friend chose to specifically avoid the situation you find yourself in. I am sorry for your lapse in judgment. The old adage is that men have a brain and a penis and only enough blood to run one of them at a time. Think first, act second. Story 21. This happened to me. You will be all right. I now have a 6-year-old son that I absolutely adore. I wouldn't have it any other way. Yes, it will be difficult at first. Babies are hard to raise, but it gets easier as they get older. Story 22. This would have been a good punishment for your irresponsibility if it weren't for the innocent life you're both going to mess up. Make sure it's yours and then be a better man than you were. If you have learned your lesson, you'd start by getting a vasectomy. Story 23. Woman here. First, get tests to see if she is pregnant and a paternity test to see if it's yours. After all, you barely know this person. Second, if it is yours, it's time to take responsibility. You have rights and your child will have them too. Don't be a negligent parent. Fight for half custody or full custody if that's what you want. Just don't disappear or be an irresponsible parent. Pursue your rights and your child's. Third, feel set up. Don't act like a teenager. You had unprotected sex with someone you don't know. Who knew this could happen? Pretty much anyone with common sense. Story 24. Life goes on, my man. It is not the end of the world. Do not beat yourself up. Just make a plan. How involved she wants you to be does not matter. You need to decide how involved you want to be. I recommend involvement. There is lots of regret the other way, but to each his own. Story 25. As others have said, get a DNA test done. Also, she doesn't get to decide if you are in the child's life or not. If you are the father and if you want to be involved in your child's life, you have every right to be. If a DNA test determines you are the father, seek legal advice as soon as possible to get the ball rolling on a custody and child support agreement. Story 26. After the deoxyribonucleic acid test confirms that the baby is yours, start providing for your child. Open an account for saving for their college education. Educate yourself about how the courts deal with custody and child support. This is at minimum an 18-year commitment. Be a great father despite everything. All the best. Story 27. Well, you're in trouble and you did it to yourself. Get a deoxyribonucleic acid test on the baby as soon as possible. If it's yours and she refuses to terminate the pregnancy or put the child up for adoption, then you are legally responsible for financial support until the child turns 18. I can only hope that this will teach you not to make such life-changing poor decisions because you were impulsive. Story 28. Doesn't matter what she wants. You have a right to be in the child's life. You can go to court to get visitation or even partial custody. If she's a bad mom, you can seek full custody. Story 29. As long as you can prove she has no financial means and cannot support the child on her own, take custody of the child. Regardless, the child should be with the parent who can be responsible and take care of the child best. Story 30. Thanks for posting, so maybe other people here can read your story. You young men avoiding condoms are asking for this exact scenario. But she is on birth control. She lies, she mishandles the birth control, she stops it without telling you. If you don't initiate the birth control that you control 100%, assume there is none. Story 31. You knew all of this and still went there? You're in your 30s and still doing things like this? She probably baby-trapped you as a recurring 18-year-long meal ticket. Doesn't want me in the child's life? You are hilarious. Of course, she doesn't. She just wants the money and will probably palm the kid off on her parents to deal with. You kind of deserve this for your stupidity.